Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 328, Gear Pressure. The episode begins with May still immensely excited over her win at the Fall Arbor contest last episode, to the point where she couldn't stop looking at her Fall Arbor ribbon, which she pulled out of her case and admired to no end, literally jumping from excitement. Max was kind of annoyed by May's hyper attitude, but Brock told Max that sometimes they should let May be happy for a little bit. As for Ash, he was barely paying attention to anything May was doing, as he was too focused on his want to get to Loveridge Town to challenge the next gym leader. He was so happy and excited that he didn't even focus on taking the correct path, just choosing at random the left path, though Max was confused as to where he was going, informing him that he was taking the wrong path. When Ash hears this, he falls over in dismay, and he goes the right path with May, Brock, and Max, embarrassed, along with Pikachu embarrassed on his behalf. After going down this path, heading through the woods for a little while longer, Pikachu was the first of the gang to hear banging drums in the distance, followed by everyone else. So, intrigued by this sound, Ash and the gang decided to go check it out, and they went towards the source of it, only to find that it seemed to be coming from a small house atop some steps. So, they went up the steps and ended up in a place full of tents, and it also had a stage full of people who seemed to be cheering and drumming. If there was cheering and drumming going on, it was safe to assume that Ash and the gang had just arrived at some sort of event. Just then, one of the people on the stage, by a drum and by three women, recognized Ash and the gang, and ran off stage to greet them, asking if they remembered him. Ash did, as he recognized the kid as none other than Thatcher, that character of the day that they met on their way to Mauville City, who believed Ash was a hero from the story of his town and wanted to get his help to train his +1 Minun. And Ash also remembered that he and his sister Alyssa ran a lighthouse, and Thatcher promised to become a better trainer and shit like that. So, upon remembering Thatcher, this kid, he asked Thatcher how he was doing, and how his +1 Minun were doing, remembering their skills, as we had a flashback of Ash and the gang meeting Thatcher before. Thatcher calls +1 Minun up, and they happily ran to him and started to play with Pikachu, chasing him around. Ash then noticed that Thatcher was in a cheering uniform, much like the women that he was standing beside earlier, so he asked Thatcher what he was doing in a cheering uniform, thinking that he was supposed to be on a journey training as a Pokemon trainer. And he then saw a big guy who looked to be kind of leading everyone doing the drums, and questioned who he was as well, leading Thatcher to explain that he was on his Pokemon training journey with his +1 Minun, practicing their electric attacks. But when he got to the trick of teaching them a better helping hand, the two of them worked together to create a huge thunder attack. And apparently, this huge thunder attack got the attention of a cheering squad, the one that he was currently at now, and they came up to him and stated how they were impressed by his +1 Minun, and the big guy, who was the leader of the cheering squad, Sheridan, asked him to join personally, and with that, Thatcher joined. So Sheridan and the rest of the squad escorted Thatcher back here, and Sheridan revealed that he was actually a teacher for a class that trained cheering squads, who practiced cheering and believed in the power of cheering, known as pep squads. So, technically, Thatcher wasn't a true member of the pep squad yet, but he was a member of the school that Sheridan ran that trained the cheerleaders and all the cheering people. So, he was learning to become what the pep squad called a cheering master, which was what a lot of the people on drums and women in red uniforms were called. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were spying on Ash and the gang through some bushes, with some better spying materials than usual, such as some long spying periscopes, and plotted to steal Pikachu, as usual. Although, Meowth got distracted by all the cheerleaders, thinking that cheerleading was annoying, although Jesse and James explained that it wasn't, with James stating that he knew for sure, since he was actually in a cheerleading squad. Hearing this, Meowth was convinced, and he stated that they should get a cheerleading squad of their own, specifically meaning Sheridan, and the cheering squad that Thatcher was a part of, so that they could use them to their advantage to help them acquire Pikachu. Anyways, back with Ash and the gang and Thatcher, the topic of the conversation had turned to Thatcher's helping hand with his +1 Minun, with Max asking if it would be illegal in official battles, since it was so overpowered. Thatcher admitted he wasn't sure, so Max went to ask Brock for his opinion, only to realize that Brock had disappeared. Although May sighed when she spotted Brock and pointed to the stage, where Brock was flirting with the cheerleaders, trying to impress them by doing dancing and cheerleading moves of his own, lying that he also used to be a cheering squad member, before Max suddenly ran up and pulled Brock away from them to stop his flirting. Although he still tried to flirt, even as Max pulled him away. Anyways, Thatcher eventually gave Max an answer to his question, stating his belief that using Helping Hand was much like cheering, since both Pokemon were essentially cheering each other on, and stated that nothing was wrong with cheering at all, since it would improve the Pokemon's efficiency, as they would be encouraged to do better. Wanting to prove how cool cheering was, Thatcher stated that he was going to show them a little behind the scenes of the cheerleading squad. Meanwhile, back with Team Rocket, they had spotted Sheridan, the leader, go inside a tent, so they put on disguises to hide their true identities, actually identical to their customer disguises from 2 episodes ago, and introduced themselves to Sheridan and demanded that he and his squad support them during battle, adding that they had specific trainers in the area that they wanted to battle, and they really wanted Sheridan and the squad support. Sheridan was initially hesitant, but Team Rocket managed to convince Sheridan to help after a whole bunch of arguing and haggling, stating that they were really inexperienced and could use the support. Sheridan, wanting to help out inexperienced underdogs, agreed to have his cheering squad help, though only after he got paid a lot of money. Since Team Rocket had no goddamn money, they tried to haggle their way out of paying him a lot, but eventually they were forced to promise to pay a lot of money. So, once they did promise this, Sheridan and his cheering squad officially agreed to help assist them. Though luckily for Team Rocket, they did manage to convince Sheridan to let them pay after he helped, not before. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang, Pikachu was playing hide-and-seek / peekaboo with Plusle and Minun, with them ducking their heads out from under the tree several times. As for Thatcher's plan to show Ash and the gang behind the scenes of the cheering squad, Thatcher realized the best way for Ash and the gang to see behind the scenes would be to actually cheer in the squad for themselves. So Thatcher called for one of the more higher-up cheerleader girls in the squad and asked her permission to have Ash and the gang join the squad for a little bit. The cheerleading woman was initially a little skeptical to have Ash and the gang join, especially when she saw Brock blushing and acting weird around her because he was attracted to her, although when she realized that at least Ash, Max, and May seemed normal, she agreed to potentially let them join, under the condition that they could beat some supposed new students that Sheridan had just enrolled. Basically, Team Rocket had described the trainers that they wanted to battle being Ash and the gang, and therefore Sheridan sent this cheerleader girl to tell Ash and the gang that they had to battle some new students who were actually Team Rocket. So, Ash and Brock, wanting to join the squad for a little bit, agreed to battle, although May wasn't confident in her ability to win, so she declined, and Max obviously couldn't battle, so he declined as well. So with that, we then see that Sheridan had left his tent and went out to the battlefield, and the cheerleading woman brought Thatcher and Ash and the gang to him. Along the way to meet Sheridan, Ash and Brock questioned the cheerleading woman on why exactly they had to battle other students to enter the cheerleading squad, leading the cheerleader to state that they wanted strong Pokémon to be a part of the cheerleading squad as well, so they would only let people in who had strong Pokémon. So a way to prove if your Pokémon was strong was winning battles, obviously. Anyways, Ash and the gang were introduced by Thatcher to Sheridan, and Thatcher and the cheerleading woman explained to Sheridan who Ash and Brock were and how they had agreed to challenge his new students. Sheridan was delighted by this, and also declared that this battle could act as a test battle to see if Ash and Brock really wanted to join the cheerleading squad. Ash and Brock questioned what Sheridan meant by this, leading Sheridan to state that he and his cheerleading squad would cheer Ash, Brock, and their opponents on during their battles to show them the power of cheerleading, to see if it was something that they wanted to get involved with. Because apparently, this cheerleading was supposed to improve your skills during battle. Anyways, Sheridan then called over his quote-unquote new students so that they could battle Ash and Brock, and of course, his new students were Team Rocket in their disguises, who immediately expressed their excitement to battle Ash and Brock, although they expected to battle Ash first, but apparently the first battle was going to be Brock versus James. The battle between James and Brock was about to begin, although Brock wanted to know what his opponent's name was, leading James to almost be honest and say his real name, James, but Jesse stepped on his foot to remind James that he shouldn't give up his real name, and because he was in so much pain from the foot stomping, he ended up saying that his name was James Stir. James, or Jamester, whatever the fuck you want to call him, sent out his Cacnea, while Brock sent out his Fortress, and James' disguise was almost ripped off by Cacnea as it hugged him, prickling him, but James managed to get it off before his disguise was taken off. Good for him. Anyways, Fortress then used Rapid Spin to counter Cacnea, who used a pin missile, but basically deflecting all the pin missiles. Fortress then uses Tackle to knock Cacnea down to the ground. Cacnea appeared to be defeated, and Ash, May, and Max were proud of Brock's strength, but suddenly, to everyone's surprise, Cacnea wasn't entirely down yet, struggling to get up, as suddenly, even more to their surprise, Sheridan put on a mouth cover, and he and his cheerleaders began cheering and dancing and banging drums. We then see that there's a small microphone on the side of Sheridan's neck, and that's why he put on a mouth cover, so that he could whisper commands into the microphone without anyone noticing. And the first thing Sheridan whispered into it was the move Helping Hand. Sheridan assumed no one would notice a spark coming flying out from one of the drums, although Max was surprised as he saw the spark and wondered where it came from. When it doesn't appear again, he just shrugs off the spark as maybe something he saw in his head or something. But then Cacnea seemed to have sensed the spark and got alerted from it, and he was able to fully get up from the spark, seemingly at full health again, as it used a knee alarm, damaging Fortress, much to the surprise of Ash and the gang. Cacnea then uses a sandstorm to distract Fortress by throwing a whole bunch of sand at it and making it harder for it to get up from the knee alarm, since it would get all the sand stuck in its little crevices. And then Cacnea uses another pin missile, since Fortress was unable to defend itself now, although Fortress did try to, using a rapid spin, but Fortress was too tired out from the sandstorm and couldn't get it off, meaning that when it was hit by the pin missile, it fainted. There was also another reason why Fortress lost, currently unbeknownst to Ash and the gang, which was that the cheerleading had improved Cacnea's moves, apparently. So that's why they were stronger. Jamester was officially declared the winner, causing Cacnea to hug him with joy, almost breaking James's disguise once again. Ash and May were immensely shocked and disappointed to see that Brock had lost, although Max was suspicious of the battle due to the spark. He thought that the spark had to have caused something weird to happen during the battle, but he just didn't know what. Regardless of this, it was now Ash's turn to battle. So he chose his Pikachu as he fought against his opponent, Jessie, who claimed that her name was Jessica. Before the battle actually began, Jessie talked to Meowth and James, plotting that she would battle Ash's Pikachu and get it exhausted, and then the three of them would swoop in and take Pikachu away, before they would have to give Sheridan any money. While Team Rocket was discussing their plan, Max snuck behind Sheridan's tent and spotted some of the drums by there, and also he saw a uniform that a lot of the cheerleaders wore, so he decided to put one on to try and disguise himself so that he could do some investigating around the drums and the cheerleaders to see if anything was amiss. Anyways, Jessie and Ash got on opposite sides of the battlefield as the cheerleader woman stood in between to be the ref, and Jessie sent out her Seviper to battle Ash's Pikachu. Before the battle began, Jessie zoned out a little bit, thinking over the plan to capture Pikachu. Basically, once Pikachu was defeated and exhausted by Seviper, James was gonna come in with a huge robot along with Meowth, and they would grab Pikachu with it, leaving Ash and the gang distraught and terrified. However, while Jessie was distracted in her own thoughts, this gave Pikachu the opportunity to start the battle first, using Thunderbolt followed by a quick attack to really damage Seviper. Jessie was obviously startled since he wasn't ready yet, and this still allowed Pikachu to continue attacking with an Iron Tail, knocking Seviper out. While this was going on, Max had now changed into a Cheer Squad uniform and was watching Sheridan and the Cheer Squad intently, up close, hiding as best he could behind the tent. To make sure that Seviper stayed knocked down, as it was starting to wake up, Pikachu used Thunderbolt, which paralyzed Seviper. This made Jessie extremely angry, as she whispered to Sheridan that she wanted some support through the cheerleading, knowing that it would make Seviper have energy again. But Sheridan silenced Jessie, stating that she had to have patience, stating that the cheerleading would only go into effect when a trainer was really desperate and Seviper was really out of energy. Jessie rebutted that Seviper was extremely out of energy, although Sheridan claimed that Jessie needed to think about winning first instead of panicking if the cheerleaders were going to help her out. So Jessie did this, trying to envision Seviper beating the shit out of Pikachu, and this allowed Sheridan and his cheerleading squad to begin cheering, banging on drums, and dancing. Max saw all this while hiding, and he also saw Sheridan put on the mouth protector again to shield his mouth, so that no one could see him speaking. And then he saw the small microphone that was attached to Sheridan, and since Max was so close, he was actually able to hear what Sheridan whispered into the microphone, being the word aromatherapy. Max almost couldn't hear this since the drummers and cheerleaders were being so loud, but he was able to make out aromatherapy and recalled that aromatherapy was a move that cured a Pokemon from paralysis, and wondered why the fuck Sheridan would be whispering a move like that. He didn't understand what whispering could do, but Max then heard Sheridan whisper something about Roselia and Vileplume, and just then, an aromatherapy, which was a green cloud, came out from the drums, making Max believe that Roselia and Vileplume must have been hiding inside the drums, and they must have used aromatherapy. Anyways, the aromatherapy hit the paralyzed and almost fainted Seviper, curing its status condition of paralysis, allowing it to get up, and it was now healed, ready to battle as good as when it was first sent out. Brock was surprised in disbelief at how Seviper had recovered so fast, while Thatcher believed that it was just the power of cheering. As for Max, he just awaited Sheridan to make the next command, and watched all the drums to see if there were more Pokemon inside of the other drums, coming to the conclusion that Vileplume and Roselia had to be in one of them, but he wanted to see if other Pokemon were being used in other drums as well. Max then listens intently, hearing Sheridan yell basic-ass cheers, wondering if maybe cheering did still have a positive effect in some way, but he then heard Sheridan quickly, without anyone noticing, stop cheering, and instead whisper again, whispering helping hand into the microphone. Max suspected that maybe Sheridan was using Plusle and Minun, since they knew Helping Hand, but he saw Plusle and Minun by Thatcher, so he wondered who Sheridan was using, only to hear him whisper the names Shroomish and Makuhita, which made Max remember how Shroomish and Makuhita could learn Helping Hand as well. And just then, Max's theory of Sheridan using Pokemon and their moves secretly was confirmed, as I see Makuhita and Shroomish use Helping Hand from inside another one of the drums, and a blue spark, the Helping Hand, flies out from this drum and hits the Viper, making it even stronger, helping it regain more energy. While Max was disgusted by the fake cheering and cheating that was going on, so the healthy Seviper used Poison Tail to knock Pikachu back and damage it, although Pikachu retaliated using Thunderbolt, hurting Seviper as well, and also paralyzing Seviper once again. However, Max then overhears Sheridan whisper aromatherapy once again, and Vileplume and Roselia from inside the drum use aromatherapy a second time to recover Seviper from paralysis and heal it up. Pikachu just uses Thunderbolt once again, but Vileplume and Roselia, per Sheridan's whisper, just use aromatherapy again. This repeats turn after turn after turn after turn, with the only difference being Sheridan alternating between aromatherapy and Helping Hand, and by this point, Pikachu was getting too tired from just constantly firing off Thunderbolts. Ironically, Sheridan then declared to all of his cheerleading students that the power of cheerleading was awesome, since it allowed Pokemon to recover using no moves at all, and they all fell for this, including Thatcher, not knowing the truth. Max heard Sheridan say this, and was disgusted that Sheridan would lie, swearing to expose the truth, as he snuck up behind Sheridan and all the other cheerleading students. Just as Sheridan whispered for Makuhita and Shroomish to use another Helping Hand, powering up Seviper, allowing it to severely wound Pikachu with a Poison Tail. Worrying Brock and May, while Thatcher wondered if his former Master Ash could even stand up to the power of cheerleading, thinking that he should just quit the battle, not knowing that cheerleading was complete bullshit. Jessie then has Seviper use Wrap to bind Pikachu, just as Sheridan whispered to the Shroomish and Makuhita to use another Helping Hand. But as soon as Sheridan commanded this, Max interrupted the drummers who were drumming by sneaking up right by the drums and knocked them over, one onto the other one, which knocked both the one that had Vileplume and Roselia over and the one that had Shroomish and Makuhita. And this caused a huge thing of dust as the drums collapsed on the ground, specifically on the battlefield, damaging the drums. And once the dust cleared, Roselia, Makuhita, Shroomish, and Vileplume rolled out of the drums, revealing them. Sheridan was shocked at what had just happened, speechless that his scam had just been revealed, as Max fully revealed the truth, stating that all the Pokemon inside the drums used moves, such as Aromatherapy and Helping Hand, make it look like the Pokemon were revitalized only with cheering, and stated that this was against the rules. And May, Ash, and Brock echoed this sentiment. Everyone, especially Thatcher and all of Sheridan's students, were extremely mad at Sheridan for lying to them, and basically gassing up cheering as something super powerful, when in reality it was all a scam, and demanded both a refund and an apology, but Sheridan simply ran away, trying to escape his now angry squad. Ash and gang wanted to chase after Sheridan, although even with the cheerleading no longer there to support them, Jessie was still determined to steal Pikachu, as she had Seviper use Wrap on it to keep it contained. Ash had Pikachu use Thunderbolt to try and break free from the Seviper's wrap, but he couldn't, as Seviper then used Haze, which blocked Ash's vision, making it hard for him to concentrate. But Ash simply told Pikachu that they couldn't lose, now that Jessie didn't have no fake cheering with her, and stated that their friendship was stronger than fake cheering anyways, and all of this motivated Pikachu to unleash a really powerful Thunderbolt, which was able to free himself from Seviper, and knock out Seviper as well, forcing Jessie to recall it. As she bitched about how corny Ash and Pikachu's friendship was, and stated that she wasn't sure what was worse, Ash and Pikachu's friendship, and how Deus Ex Machina it was, or the fact that the cheering was fake, stating that basically she thought that fake cheering was not as bullshit as Ash and Pikachu's friendship. Anyways, now that Jessie was defeated, she hoped that James and Meowth had come in with a new robot to capture Pikachu, even though Seviper had lost, as she took off her disguise and revealed herself, and wondered where James and Meowth were, only to see that they had left to go get the Meowth balloon, and they quickly descended in their Meowth balloon, taking off their disguises as well, as Jessie hopped in, and they did their motto, declaring their plan to capture Pikachu. Although Jessie was disappointed, seeing that Meowth and James didn't bring a robot with them, and asked Meowth why they didn't have one, leading Meowth to explain they had no money left to buy a robot, since they spent all their money paying Sheridan, since it seems as though Sheridan had actually demanded that Team Rocket pay first, and Meowth and James paid Sheridan, but they just didn't tell Jessie this, because they knew that she'd get pissed off. Jessie was in fact pissed off, knowing that all of their savings had gone to Sheridan, although James calmed her down, as he spotted Ash and the gang and Thatcher and his +1 mine and all that, down below the Meowth balloon looking up at them, and James declared that even though Jessie and her Seviper had lost, Pikachu was still relatively weak, so they could still capture it. Meowth agreed, as he pressed a remote in the Meowth balloon to lower a robot arm to grab Pikachu. Ash ordered Pikachu to use Thunderbolt to try and break free from the mechanical hand, but Pikachu was too tired from the last battle against Seviper, and was unable to do anything but a few minuscule shocks, which did nothing to the arm. So, this led Thatcher to step up, as Team Rocket reeled in Pikachu with the arm, as he had his +1 mine use a Helping Hand, which powered Pikachu up with an overwhelming surge of power, allowing him to use a massive Thunderbolt to free himself from the mechanical arm and drop down to the ground. Just then, the Thunderbolt manages to go up from the mechanical arm and into the sky, creating dark storm clouds, and then the Thunderbolt comes back down onto Team Rocket's Meowth balloon, leaving Meowth and Jessie and James to laugh, because apparently this Meowth balloon was electric-proof, but the electricity was so goddamn strong from being powered up by the Helping Hand that it was able to destroy the Meowth balloon and send Team Rocket blasting off. As Wobbuffet forcibly pops out of its Pokeball, and Team Rocket yells about how fucking bullshit that storm was, as the storm clouds suddenly disappear. With Team Rocket gone, +1 Minun and Pikachu congratulate each other on all their good work, as Ash and the gang and Thatcher congratulate Pikachu and +1 Minun as well. Thatcher then states that he was disappointed that that Sheridan turned out to be a fraud and all that shit, but because of Ash and Pikachu's strength and their teamwork, he's realized that one's own power was greater than using someone else's, or even if the cheering was real, he realized that using your own power was best, as it actually meant that you were winning independently. You weren't relying on others. With that, Thatcher promised to work hard and start from scratch, going on a journey with his +1 Minun to train them up on his own, hoping to become as strong of a trainer as Ash someday, and hoping that he and his +1 Minun would become as strong of a partnership as Ash and Pikachu. The rest of the cheering squad wanted Thatcher to stay, as they wanted a new leader now that Sheridan was gone, and one that was honest and would actually help them do cheering, and they thought that Thatcher would be a good candidate because of the inspiring shit that he just said. Although Thatcher remained wanting to go on his journey, so he suggested that all these cheerleaders simply go on a journey with their Pokemon as well, and learn to cheer for themselves, and only help themselves, and yeah, basically just work on their own. All of the cheerleaders agreed with this, so with that, Thatcher and all the cheerleaders were going to set out on their own journey with their own Pokemon. Brock goes to flirt with several of the cheerleaders, although Max just pulls him away by the ear. Thatcher then tells Ash that he would always be his master no matter what, making Ash flattered as he reminds Thatcher to never give up on his journey. Thatcher promises not to, as Ash and the gang wave goodbye to Thatcher and the cheerleading squad and continue on their journey to Lava Ridge Town.